Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, I created a hostile work environment. You want me to coerce an inspector after someone else did the work? Logo versus. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. I created a hostile work environment. I used to be a server at a major restaurant chain that you see in every mall in the US, and my particular location just happened to be in one of the wealthier parts of the country. Because of that, a large percentage of the clientele wanted their dishes a certain way. There were some oddball regulars, like the one lady who wanted a Caesar salad with no dressing but 3 whole lemons to squeeze on the lettuce, but 99% of the time they'd ask for rigatoni instead of penne in a dish, or red onion instead of yellow on a burger, or something of that nature. The thing about this chain, though, is that technically you're supposed to charge them for substitutions like that. So, for instance, if a guest wanted a different kind of dressing on a salad, it might be a 10-cent charge. Or if they wanted Swiss instead of cheddar on their burger, it would be like a 15-cent charge. As a server, you were supposed to know all the upcharges, but because there were like 26 pages to the menu, it was daunting enough to just memorize what we even had. But obviously, no one ever charged for these things, because what's an extra 15 cents on a $200 tab, especially when you're in the weeds and you're pretty sure the host stand wants you to have a mental breakdown? Not only that, but because rich people tend to be the stingiest furs you'll ever meet, we would never charge them because they would instantly complain if you did. And the restaurant's policy was essentially the customer is always right no matter how wrong they were. We even had regular grifters that would order the wrong thing and then complain and get an entire free meal every freaking time. So one normal day, I'm serving a table and someone asks for goat cheese on their salad instead of feta, which is supposed to be one of those 10-cent changes. I obviously don't add the upcharge, just like I hadn't for any of the other countless times in over 3 years, and like 15 minutes later the new manager, I'll just call him Brad, comes along and pretty much chews me out over it. Keep in mind, this is Brad's second day on the job and he came from the other side of the country to replace our beloved former manager who left to manage her own restaurant. Dude hadn't even introduced himself to me and he comes out of nowhere to yell at me for not doing the upcharge. I explained to him why I didn't, and how it was pretty much a directive from the GM not to do upcharges because of the 99% chance that a complaint and free meal would follow. But Brad just blah 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 some more and tells me I need to add the upcharges or I'd get written up. So when the next table, a party of 7 that had a $500-ish bill, changes literally every dish, I added the upcharges, which totaled like $1 at most. When I dropped the check, they freaked out over all the upcharges, even though I informed them of the charges when they ordered. The itemized receipt made it look so much more severe, and they demanded to speak to the manager. Instead of getting any of the other managers I had worked with for years, I grabbed Brad and made him deal with them. He ended up having to comp all $500-ish because he insisted I charge an extra $1 for all the substitutions. But did he learn his lesson? Nope. So I did it over and over again to the detriment of my bank account. Most people still tipped me though, so that was nice, and I got to watch tables routinely chew him out over the charges. This continued for a month or so until he finally relented, and not too long after I was suspiciously fired for creating a hostile work environment while on vacation. Update, just wanted to say thanks for the awards and for the legal stuff. Y'all would be amazed by the amount of illegal crap the restaurant industry gets away with, but that's for a different subreddit. You want me to coerce an inspector after someone else did the work? This happened years ago. I had just started working as an independent electrician, and one day I received a call from a new customer. He was one of those people that flips homes in lower income neighborhoods. I'll call him Todd, but honestly, I've forgotten what his name is. Todd asked me to meet him at a vacant house he recently bought to give him an estimate for a full rewiring job. He was 30 minutes late, so I was already unimpressed with him. Upon entering the house, which was right after a rainstorm had passed through, we found an inch of water covering the hardwood floors. There was water pouring out of small holes in the columns on the front porch. Everything was soaked. Instead of showing me around, Todd called his business partner and brother and spent the next 20 minutes cussing him for not fixing the roof. I'm standing around and listening to his man-baby rage on full display. The whole time I'm thinking there's no way I'm going to work for this guy. His fuse was way too short and his anger was out of hand. I gave him a price, which admittedly was the "I don't want to do this job" price, and didn't hear back from him. Until months later. Todd called me later that year. He explained that he had found an electrician from 3 states away, and had paid the electrician with ceramic tiles instead of cash. The problem now? Well, he needed an inspection from the city electrical inspector. I agreed to meet the inspector for him, which I would bill him for. I went back to the house about 20 minutes before the inspector showed up and saw numerous issues. When the inspector arrived, we walked through together. Every issue I saw, the inspector also saw. He pointed them out, and every time, I agreed with him that the work was not up to code. This inspector kept looking at me with a puzzled expression. After we did a complete walkthrough, I finally explained to the inspector that I didn't do any of the work and was hired to get him to pass the inspection. He asked me if I thought he should, and I told him absolutely not. I got paid for my time, I got paid to repair all the violations, and I formed a strong relationship with that inspector, who was always lenient with me on all my future jobs. Logo versus. I have a kid who's a freshman in high school. The school has a rule that logos be 3 inches or smaller, no pictures. I found him a cute shirt with a duck on it, and did a quick measurement with the ruler on my phone. I got 3 inches exactly. I buy it and send him to school. The next day, I get a text from him to come bring him a new shirt. A teacher he doesn't even have this year took him to the office where the official measurement was 3 5/16 inches. Well, I'm broke and it's a spendy shirt that I just happened to get for cheap, so I'm not really able to just let it sit in his closet and not be used for an entire year. So I grab the dress code from the website and scour it to see if we can somehow make it work. He's on an A-B schedule, so even though it's been 2 days, he wears the shirt the very next day and the same teacher sees it. She pulls him into the office and he calls me. My son knew if this happened to just ask to call home. I told him to pretend like he was calling for a new shirt, but just so that he could get me on the phone. I ask him to give the teacher his phone so we can talk. Here's what happened. Teach, your son is still wearing a shirt that breaks dress code. As it's the second time in a row, he's getting in school suspension. Me, no he's not. Teach, I'm afraid that's the rules. He will have to miss the rest of the school day and be in detention. Me, no. You misunderstand. The shirt no longer breaks dress code. Your rules state that any logo over 3 inches is a violation, correct? Teach, yes, and we have officially measured it once again and it's still far too big. Me, but doesn't your dress code also say that multiple pictures of the same or similar design is a pattern? And pattern are allowed by dress code, correct? Teach, but it's not a pattern. Me, hey son, take off your jacket and turn around. What that snooty, want to use a stronger word here, but my son reads these too, teacher didn't know is that I have a Cricut cutter and massive amounts of iron on vinyl. I had scanned the logo into my computer and printed over a dozen or so more pictures in various sizes and adhered them to the back of his shirt. I just told him to wear his jacket. It was a cold morning, so no one would question why he's been wearing a jacket at the start of the day. Me, after a decent amount of silence and being asked to be put on speaker, I do remember reading an exact section and line, quoting word for word multiple pictures of similar design is a pattern. Wouldn't you know, it doesn't say they have to all be on the same side of the garment. Your dress code also allows for jackets inside as long as the hood is down. Was the hood up? Longest pause ever. A few minutes later, my son is telling me he's on his way back to class and there was nothing that snooty teacher could do about it. I filed a complaint with the head of the charter school that a teacher that my son doesn't have is targeting him this close to the start of the school year. I'm waiting to hear back. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.